Hello again, my name is Gabe Zollner. Have you ever heard the expression, "So what have you done for me lately?" Well, that's something we have to ask our Republican senators and congressmen. Yeah, we have to ask them, so what have you done for me lately? Because I don't see them having done anything for us lately, you know? They sort of talk the talk, but they tend not to walk the walk. Have you noticed that? You know, one of the things I have to give the Democrats credit for is they always circle the wagons around themselves and anyone that's being attacked. The Republicans don't do that. No. What they do is they cut them adrift, like the guy in Kansas, you know, who felt that it was okay to go do what you want to do as far as having an abortion. And what did they do? They cut them adrift. Yeah. And you know, they shot themselves in the foot because then Kansas went to that McCaskill whack job. But anyway, one of the things that I detest about the Republicans is exactly that. They don't circle the wagons. And you know what? I personally think that the Republicans, and I'm one of them. Well, actually, I was one of them because I'm going to be changing my affiliation to independent because I don't believe that the Republicans support the Republicans. You take, for example, you vote for a guy like Jeff the Flake. So what you do is you expect him to represent the values of the people that put him in power. No different than Lame Brain McCain, you know? People that voted for him, and I was one of them, you expect him to abide by and cherish the values that we have, which is why we voted for him. And then you wonder why so many of them, so many of these Republican senators and congressmen voted to confirm whack jobs like Jack Lew, whack jobs like Chuck Hagel. He obviously doesn't have a clue what he's doing. I mean, he's going to bring this country to nuclear annihilation. Whack jobs like John Kerry. Oh, by the way, congratulations, John. I love your new son-in-law, you know, the Iranian prince. And then you got John Brennan. Every one of these whack jobs was confirmed by our Republican senators. Yeah, so we elect them to represent our values, and once they get to wherever they've gotten, which is the power broker house, they do what they want. How can any one of them justify having nominated or agreeing to nominate any one of these idiots? I mean, there's not one of them that's worthy of being in office. But then again, nor is the guy that hangs out in the Oval Office, you know? So I'm going to change my affiliation because personally I don't believe that the Republicans are going to survive. That party will not survive. A divided party cannot survive. You know? And that's what this administration has done. They've further helped to divide it. But they divide themselves because they're rhinos. They're not true Republicans. And I wish they would go to the other side, you know? I wish a guy like Jeff Flake, who's a Mormon, who's supposed to be honest, you know? But it's all just a shell game. Yeah, it's like Obama going to that Reverend Right church for 20 years. I think the same thing with Flake, you know? He just wants the Mormon vote. He doesn't believe in their values because he doesn't adhere to their values. He's not honest. You're not honest, Jeffrey, huh? And McCain, well, I got to give McCain some slack because I think that the cheese has slipped off of his cracker, if you know what I mean. But there's so many, like Marco Rubio, you know, they talk, but they don't walk the walk. Rand Paul voted for all these bozos, you know? Why? Why? I'll tell you why. They want the check mark beside their name because these bozos are the power brokers. And they don't want these bozos to come back to them and say, hey, you didn't vote for me. That's why. It's also disgusting because they don't honor their oath. They don't. None of them do. All it would take is one to get up on the Senate floor or on the House chamber and say, hey, bozo, show us your papers for Occidental. Show us the passport that you used. Show us how you got into Harvard. You know what it'll show us? Well, I probably won't be alive to see it, but maybe my children's children might see it. It'll show that he received admission under affirmative action. He was a lousy student. It'll show that he received admission utilizing an Indonesia passport. That's what it'll show. Yeah, and it'll show that he was never eligible to be in the White House. Why do you think he walked away from a $5 million check that the Donald had offered to send to a charity of his choice? All he had to do was show those documents. $5 million. But to a guy like Bozo, that's chump change now. You know, he's big time. Yeah, he's really big time. And he's taken this country right down the sewer. And nobody's going to try to stop him.